Hi.
Hello. Another episode of the Parentes.
Yes.
Real talk.
Real talk.
What are we talking about today?
Well, I had this idea, out of something that happened this morning, which was, and I got present to how good you are at this.
Music to my ears.
Yes.
Please tell me more. No, honestly, I actually really like hearing that I'm doing something right. So go ahead, tell me.
Um, you're really good at. It's almost like you move from one space to another, right? So you can be like very strict and very demanding, right? And this particular situation was with our son, right, who was misbehaving, and you were very strict and demanding, and here's the punishment and like that. But then you shifted to, instead of like doling the punishment out, instead of giving something out, you just took a step back and started to listen and to talk, right? And I wasn't fully there, so you should explain what you did. But
Yeah.
And you started listening to him, and he started talking. And from what I understood is that at some point he asked for forgiveness and grace, right? And I was amazed because I've seen you even do it with me. Like sometimes when we argue, when we fought, where you just kind of pause and then grant the person the space to calm themselves as well. But it required something from you first, right? And that's not easy.
I think I get what you mean. It's not easy in a sense that I think people rarely, not people rarely, this is just an assumption, whatever. It's not quite like that, right? Like, I don't know, I didn't measure what people do, but I've seen people, let me say it that way, trying to be correct. I've seen people get really upset or emotionally charged one way or the other, and then not be able to shift spaces, what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do think that that's just a matter of part of it is a matter of training. Another part of it is a matter of commitment in a matter, and then the third part is also a bit of like who you are in your essence. Like, for what you're saying, I think my natural state is to listen to people and be space. That's my natural. Now, in life, when we're in survival, when I am racing after something that I need, which is all part of my ego, I can't say it any other way, all part of my identity, I rush. And when I rush, people experience sometimes that I'm like running over them, that's not reality, but people experience that I'm not granting them space, that I am seeing them as enemies and obstacles and whatnot. And I think knowing that helps me. Like, I don't get righteous to at the expense of relationship and the connection. So I think with Adrian, what he did was not great. Let me just say it that way. I don't want to judge it necessarily, but it was just not great. Like, he can just be so disrespectful and hard, if that makes sense. And yes, I gave them consequences to that behavior and told them, if you continue to be that way, then these kind of privileges will be taken away from you. But then when we went and we talked, at some point he said something like, I need you to not talk to me. And he was mean about it. He was mean. Like, if I, as a kid, said something like that, I would be like spanked or
I can only
thrown
imagine.
to the room. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I just, and I think most people would react that way, right? Like when I know for myself, when people say something like that to me, like, I react.
Right.
But I was listening to what he needed in whatever he was giving me in that language. So when he said that, that's when I took a step back.
Mm-hmm.
That was the moment, because he said, like, I need you to not talk to me. I realized it doesn't matter that he said that as a complete reaction to
Yeah.
what was happening, and it doesn't matter that it was his fault or that he started the whole thing. That all of that aside, in a moment when a 10-year-old asks me, a 46-year-old woman, I need you to not stop, to not talk to me anymore, I was just gonna give him what he asked. And so I stopped talking. That's what happened. I stopped talking. And I could see his chin vibrate a little bit. So I put my attention on him essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It was not on like, oh, he is disrespecting me or something. It wasn't, the attention was off of me and onto him. And I was listening for what was there for him and trying to make sense of the chin going like this and the fact that he's only 10, and he calmed down, and then he said something about, oh, that happened when I was 3 years old. And I was like, what happened? And I was actually curious, but he wasn't willing to tell the story. So rather than be about me and my curiosity, I stopped inquiring and interrogating. And so he didn't want to talk about that. And then he said something like, I'm just like you. And I thought about it, and I don't know, like, to me that was just like, here's my child, saying something from his perception, from his point of view.
Right.
Like, it's not, he's not like me, we're not the same or anything like that, but for some reason that's his perception right now. So I was looking at the building blocks of his world. I mean, I'm analyzing it too much, but that's, if you ask me about what happened, that's what happened. I was listening to what he was saying and inquiring into, like, how does the world occur to him that this is what is happening on the outside. And I do know that. I just do know that from my own training, or it's not even it's just like try it on as a pair of shoes and see if it fits. I don't know that this is the truth, right? But I have it that our occurring world shifts our reality. My whole work is
Right.
around that.
Absolutely.
So so I was inquiring into what's real for him, and I guess, like, my whole upset got dismantled, because if he's thinking that he's being just like me and that I'm punishing him, then he doesn't have a map on how to be. And in that moment he said, like, I need forgiveness and grace. And I said, okay, you got it. It's just like, when you really think about it, it's not even just about Adrian, who's 10, but it's about people in general. Like, I don't know that I cannot say this to anybody, that I never messed up.
Right.
To me, that's just really humbling. And I think, when you look at my identity, my whole identity is built around proving myself good, which I can never be, because I decided as a child that I was just like spoiled rotten, And so if my whole design is trying to prove that I'm right, and then I'm inevitably proven wrong, and then the truth that I'm rotten, which is all a construct, it's not the truth.
Absolutely.
I'm not rotten. There's nothing rotten about me, But I have compassion for that. I really do, because I think that as presence, as the soul, if you will, we're all beautiful. And it's our ego identity that is just really ugly.
Right.
And some people have an ego that is maybe nicer. Like Marco has a nicer ego, in a sense that he's like wants to make people laugh and stuff like that. But it's just as removed and disconnected from the truth as Adrian's ego, that is a bit more active. Anyway, all that to say is, I'm sorry, I'm just gotten shaken by that. But I have compassion for people when people attack back, or when I stop my own judgments. Usually people can relax in my space, and when they relax, then I can connect to who they really are. And some people just some people just never do that. Some people are just gonna go and be right about how they're, and that's fine, you know. I'm probably not gonna spend my life, my short lifespan, trying to prove myself to people who are not in the same sandbox
Right.
with me. But when people ask me for grace and they admit, I mean, when he asked for forgiveness, that to me was an acceptance of that he knows he didn't do something great. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Really
Sorry, I
awesome.
took over this one.
It's fine. It's great. It's really great. Yeah, so it's really, I mean, I can hear if I was to package this in like a lesson, right? 'Cause my brain is always packaging things in lessons, right?
Yeah, please.
And like algorithms, you know, if this, then do that.
Yeah, okay.
That's what my brain thinks. But, and I've seen this work with Adrian, which is saying yes to something he asks for, even if it doesn't make sense to me. You know, so I could hear like when he said, "Please don't talk to me. Like, stop talking to me." And I mean, whether you didn't say yes, but you were like you approved, you did what he asked.
Yeah.
And in the process, it allowed him to kind of stop fighting you, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't, I
Yeah.
say this to clients all the time, like you can't, you know, when you drop the rope, there's no tension anymore. So
Yeah,
it's-
that's a good analogy. That's really
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Great.
yeah.
It's really awesome. Life's good.
I know. Let's not start another conversation right now.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I want to conclude, but I guess I will say something to just kind of wrap it up for me anyway. When you really care about people in front of you, you can always find a way to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care, then, you know, there's no point of digging, right? Like you just let it go. But if you do care about the person in front of you, you can always listen for what they need and like that. And that allows you to step away from your own mechanism of
Mm-hmm.
fight.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, people can express themselves truly. So I think you're right about that, the shifting of the space. Like I have the willingness. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
To shift rather
Yeah.
than like be right,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
really
actually
great.
what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really great. Because I can see there's moments where I personally didn't have that willingness. I was like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, get it, kind of thing, right? Kind of dynamic.
Yeah,
and
but
it
even
didn't
that
work.
didn't start with you, right?
Right. I
That's-
mean, yeah, I understand, but I can see that in those moments, some of them I can think of, you know, without going into details, where if I had just stopped trying to hold on to my, you know, pulling the rope, like you said, if I just dropped it, the situation could have diffused a lot
Yeah.
faster. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean there's not things that we got to talk about or resolve or things that were done or not done that are correct or not correct, but at least the tension in the situation would have
yeah,
diminished. Really great.
yeah. I don't think it's about saying yes blindly either. You
No,
know,
no,
like
no.
I think sometimes we can say yes as a form of relief to just like get out of the situation. Yes, sure, like just
Fine.
do whatever,
Yeah.
fine. You know, but that's very
yeah.
different than what happened today anyway.
Yeah.
Great,
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.